Imagine Paris in the late 1800s. The city skyline is a sea of elegant, low-rise stone buildings. Now picture this. Someone proposes to build a monstrous 300-meter-tall iron tower right in the middle of it. The public reaction? Utter outrage. Critics called the idea hideous, a factory chimney. They said it was dangerous, insane, an insult to the beauty of Paris. No building in human history had ever reached such a dizzying height. The very idea seemed to defy the laws of nature. But one man, an engineer named Gustave Eiffel, had a vision that went beyond what others could see. He believed that iron, a material of the modern age, could achieve what traditional stone never could. He believed he could touch the sky. The stage was set for the 1889 World's Fair, a grand event celebrating the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution. France was eager to make a statement to the world, to showcase its industrial might and forward-thinking spirit. They needed something spectacular, something unforgettable, something that screamed progress. Gustave Eiffel's proposal was the boldest of them all. His team of engineers and designers got to work producing over 5,000 intricate drawings. These weren't just pretty sketches. They were masterpieces of calculation. Every single curve, every beam, every joint was meticulously planned to combat the most powerful force of nature it would face, the wind. The tower's iconic, elegant shape wasn't born from an artist's whim. It was dictated by pure mathematics. Every angle, every gentle taper, was engineered for one primary purpose: to allow the wind to pass through it, ensuring its survival against the gales that would whip across the Paris sky. It was a structure designed not for beauty, but for endurance. To build this impossible tower, Eiffel made a decision that was as revolutionary as the tower itself. At the time, large structures were built piece by piece on site, with metal being forged and shaped right there on the ground. This was slow, messy, and prone to error. Eiffel threw that method out the window. He decided that every single one of the tower's 18,038 iron parts would be prefabricated in his factory just outside Paris. Each piece was precisely manufactured, labeled with a unique number and pre-drilled with rivet holes accurate down to a fraction of a millimeter. It was like a giant, industrial-sized model kit. This system of prefabrication was a game-changer. It meant construction on-site would be more like an assembly process, making it incredibly fast and drastically reducing the chance of costly mistakes. It was a bold gamble, but it was a calculated one. Eiffel was betting his reputation on the precision of his factory and the brilliance of his system. Construction officially began in January 1887, and the first major challenge lay beneath the ground. The tower needed a foundation strong enough to anchor a 10,000-ton giant. This was complicated by the fact that two of the tower's 4 massive legs were situated right next to the Seine River, where the ground was soft and waterlogged. To dig the foundations safely without them flooding, Eiffel's workers had to use a cutting-edge and incredibly dangerous technology: compressed air caissons. These were large, watertight chambers sunk into the riverbed. Air was pumped in to force the water out, allowing men to excavate the mud and soil in a dry but highly pressurized environment. It was risky work, but it was the only way. Once the pits were dug, enormous concrete foundations were poured, creating unshakable anchors that would bear the immense weight of the Iron Titan soon to rise above them. The groundwork was laid for the spectacle to come. With the foundations secure, the real show began. The tower started to climb, piece by piece, into the Parisian sky. This was the most dangerous phase of the project. The workers, known as skywalkers, were assembling the iron lattice at terrifying heights. And they did it with none of the safety equipment we'd expect today. No safety harnesses. No hard hats. Just skill, courage, and an incredible sense of balance. Giant steam-powered cranes hoisted the massive iron girders into the air. Once a piece was in place, a team of 4 men would secure it. One would heat a rivet in a small forge until it was glowing red-hot. He'd toss it up to a catcher, who would grab it in a bucket. The catcher would then place the hot rivet into the hole, and 2 other workers, the riveters, would hammer it into place from opposite sides, forming a permanent, incredibly strong bond. As the hot rivet cooled, it contracted, pulling the iron plates together with immense force. This process was repeated over 2.5 million times. But Eiffel had another trick up his sleeve. At the base of each leg, he installed powerful hydraulic jacks. These allowed him to make tiny millimeter adjustments to the angle of the legs as they were being built, ensuring everything remained perfectly aligned. This precision was crucial. A small error at the bottom would have become a disastrous gap at the top. As the strange iron skeleton grew taller, so did the public outcry. Paris's artistic and literary elite were horrified. They saw the tower not as a symbol of progress, but as a truly tragic street lamp, a black and gigantic factory chimney. A group of 300 prominent figures, including famous writers like Alexandre Dumas the Younger and Guy de Maupassant, signed a petition demanding that construction be stopped. They published it in the newspaper, calling the tower a hateful column of bolted sheet metal, a dizzily ridiculous tower dominating Paris like a black smokestack. They claimed it would crush the city's other historic monuments: Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe with its barbarous mass. The pressure on Eiffel was immense. The whole city seemed to be against him, but he remained unshaken. He didn't argue about art or beauty. He responded with science. He trusted his calculations, he trusted the math. And so, he ignored the protests and continued to build. And then, in a stunningly short amount of time, it was done. On March 31st, 1889, after just 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days of construction, the Eiffel Tower was complete. Gustave Eiffel himself climbed the 1,710 steps to the top and unfurled a massive French flag. The final structure weighed over 10,000 tons and stood as the tallest man-made structure in the entire world, a title it would hold for the next 41 years. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The critics fell silent. The protests vanished. The very people who had called it a monstrosity were now struck with awe. The tower opened to the public for the World's Fair, and millions of visitors flocked to see it, to ride its incredible elevators, and to gaze out at a view of Paris no one had ever seen before. The ugly factory chimney had become an overnight sensation. What Paris once hated, the entire world now admired. It was a total vindication of Eiffel's vision. But here's the final incredible twist in this story. The Eiffel Tower was never meant to be permanent. The original contract stipulated that it was a temporary structure, built only for the World's Fair, and was scheduled to be dismantled and sold for scrap metal just 20 years later. In 1909, for 2 decades, its fate hung in the balance. As the deadline approached, Eiffel desperately searched for a way to make his tower indispensable. And he found the answer in a brand new, invisible technology: radio. The tower's immense height made it the perfect antenna. In the early 1900s, it was used for pioneering experiments in wireless telegraphy. During World War I, a radio transmitter on the tower played a crucial military role, jamming German communications and helping to secure a decisive victory at the Battle of the Marne. The tower had proven its strategic value. It was now untouchable. In a beautiful stroke of irony, a new form of technology had saved the very structure that was built to celebrate technology. Today, the Eiffel Tower still stands, a global icon recognized by billions. It's a living structure, breathing with the seasons. It expands and grows taller by about 15 centimeters in the summer heat, and shrinks back down in the winter cold. It sways gently in the wind, just as Gustave Eiffel designed it to do over 130 years ago. Its survival isn't due to luck, and its beauty isn't just about decoration. It stands firm because it was engineered with absolute perfection from the very beginning. It's a timeless monument to the power of a bold vision, the brilliance of mathematics, and the courage to build an impossible dream. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.